This is how businesses are getting their competitive edge, and it's what's allowing IT to innovate on a much faster scale and helping customers get to market with their products much faster than they could before.
So Mike, we've been talking over the last couple of weeks around our customers' journey and transforming their organisation. What's your take on how cloud is evolving to support that type of need?
I think there's four key things of importance when customers are considering cloud transformation, and that is time, cost, risk and innovation. The time it's taking to get to the cloud is reducing. The simplicity, things are getting much more simple, and access to innovation is much more accessible than it ever has been. So I think it's getting easier to get to the cloud with modern cloud solutions.
How are you evolving, and how are your new products supporting that?
VMware's really focused at the moment on helping customers get to the hybrid multi-cloud outcome. So what we're doing is we're helping customers extend their VMware environments into the public cloud environments, which is really the fastest and easiest way to get to the cloud. And from there, we can access advanced cloud services such as AI, IoT, ML, etc., and really start to drive modern applications and greater business value through those types of technologies.
Do you see any specifics in customer segments or customers that maybe are doing things differently?
Well, look, I can't think of a customer conversation that I've had in the last couple of years that wasn't cloud-centric. I think just the pervasiveness of cloud overall in the market is at an all-time. There's just so much momentum behind the cloud movement at the moment.
How can we give them the innovation at speed whilst also transforming and helping them to modernise maybe their more traditional workloads?
So what VMware is doing is helping customers extend their VMware environment into public cloud environments without any refactoring or rebuilding of those applications. So that's getting a lot of attention, and I think through more and more stories coming out of the marketplace of cloud transformation projects that have become complicated or hit complications through the journey, customers are looking at these types of solutions from VMware as a much lower risk and faster way to get to the cloud.
Now, if you can extend, you can move, you can extend quickly, you can exit quickly if you need to move out of a physical location. But you can still have that innovation scale as well. You can access those services, whether it's AI or linking in better data assessments or providing better customer experiences, right?
But moving to the cloud is not just about optimizing data center and hardware and refresh cycles. It's a part of the benefit, but I think the real business value comes from modern applications and accessing modern cloud services such as AI, ML, IoT, etc.
Agreed. And I love the way that we can bring almost that flexibility and hybridity in the approach, when you can have an application spun up in a container, perhaps on a public cloud, bring it back to private for production mode, vice versa if you need to move away and have some kind of burst capacity. That flexibility that traditionally you might have gone to a public cloud for, you can get in many different form factors now, and it gives so much more flexibility, especially for developers that need to consume and have the flexibility that they need in their kind of search for better customer experiences, as I was saying, or better outcomes for the way that organisations deliver their services to their customers.
I couldn't think of a customer conversation that I've had recently that wasn't centred around a hybrid multi-cloud type of objective. Do we want to have portable workloads that we can move between public and private, and can we place our private cloud workloads in the right cloud based on what type of innovation or services we're trying to get access to, be it data analytics, etc. So it's just about having the portability and the flexibility. The cost conversation keeps coming up again and again, and cost is obviously a critical part of any technology project. There's cost optimization and there's value realization. And I think it's important in the cost discussion to consider both. It really is about comparing total cost of ownership models with private and then public, but It's about how much value and innovation can you drive in a public cloud environment, and therefore how much value can you create for the organisation. So I think it's important not to get too narrowly focused in the cost discussion. It's about cost and value.
The amount of times I've had a customer conversation about moving to cloud for cost efficiencies, for operational benefits, rather than potentially impacting the top line of that business or the organisation. The way they can share data, whether they can change the model that they deliver their services out, or even change the way that their supply chain works. There are ways to get more of a rounded business view. Do you think that there needs to be more focus on transformation as part of that initial business case, or are you seeing a good mix now?
I think technology is more and more central to business strategy as time goes on. There's definitely a heightened reliance on the IT team to help deliver on the business strategy, and there's more consultation across lines of business and with the executive and the board around what's possible and how can we get to the future. The connection between the technology strategy and the business strategy has never been closer.
What are you expecting, I don't know, 6, 12 months away? What do you think is coming soon?
I think one of the biggest things we'll see next is just the sheer scale of customers that are moving the larger parts of their environments into public cloud and hybrid cloud environments. We've been talking about it for a long time, but it's really just the momentum picking up behind this at the moment is the key thing. I don't think we've ever had access to more innovation than we get through public cloud platforms, and there's plenty to choose from with so many different value propositions and benefits we can achieve here. This is how businesses are getting their competitive edge, and it's what's allowing IT to innovate on a much faster scale and helping customers get to market with their products much faster than they could before.
You've mentioned optimization a couple of times, and it's a topic that's close to my heart. Fujitsu provides managed services and professional services, certainly in both ends, whether it's optimizing before a transformation or a migration, or optimizing in that run state. It's no longer a static service. It has to keep changing, has to keep evolving, right? From a security angle, from a financial perspective, or even architectural, the optimization need, it's never been greater, because if you stay still, you'll be left behind.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, so much of managing technology is about optimization. It drives cost, so we're going to need to make sure that whether it's public cloud, private cloud, hybrid cloud, and everything in between, end-to-end optimization is a very important topic.
What do you see as a strength in your relationships with managed service providers? How does that kind of relationship work best to support a customer's outcome?
So I think it's about bringing the shared experiences, it's about bringing the strengths of two key organisations in the industry together, and it's about customer focus and best practice, and that's where I see us delivering the most value to our customers.
Yeah, I agree, especially when we're combining learnings from different customers or from different industries to bring them together and to allow learnings and innovation from one zone in an environment or an economy to another. You often find innovation comes from thinking that's totally outside the box, and it's hard to do that when you're inside of a bubble of either an organisation or a sector. When we can see and reference stories, whether it's IoT or whether it's edge cases that allow just a reimagination of a customer's challenge or business problem, I think that's fantastic when we can glue that together.
You know, the old saying of people, process, technology still stands true to a certain degree. And you can change technology quickly, but changing processes and people and behaviours and practices can sometimes take a bit longer. And maybe that's where some of the more painful parts of the change process are. It's people, process and technology change all working in unison is what true transformation is all about.
Mike, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure having you in. I really appreciate you taking the time to explain how VMware approaches things, your view on the world.